Paranormal Playback is a podcast where we recap the spooky and entertaining world that is paranormal reality TV. We are hosted by Acast. Warning: Paranormal Playback contains amusing stories about bros, hair gel, and we suspect Axe body spray, as well as dark stories, which may include suicide, pregnancy loss, abortion, sexual assault, and murder. It is intended for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised. Char here to interrupt your regularly scheduled programming. We are going to try something new this week, and we're thinking about trying it when we come back from our little hiatus as well. But we're thinking about doing 2 episodes a week. One will be the first half of the episode, and it'll be about 45 minutes to an hour, and it'll be the history of the location, this old haunt, and some of the interviews that Zach does with his guests on the show. And then our second episode will be either more of the interviews and the investigation or just the investigation, depending on what happens in the episode, since they tend to jump around quite a bit. But it's just something we wanted to try so we can give you guys 2 episodes a week. We've been having to edit out a lot of the good stuff. So we hope you enjoy. Please leave us a DM. Let us know how you're liking it. And if you have feedback. Thanks for listening. Okay, stop. Pause. Time. Marking it. I'm going to piece all of this together to make it really great. It's going to be a great intro watch.
It's going to be great.
Everything is awesome. Everything is awesome. Okay. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Paranormal Playback. I am your host, Charlie Holly, and I am joined tonight by my 2 incredible co-hosts, Melanie Malone. Say hello, Mel.
Hello. It's Mel.
And Lauren Sanders.
Hello.
We're still getting a hang of this intro, so thanks for joining us.
This is our 3rd time doing this.
Sorry, 3rd time trying.
Yes.
But, I might need to start scripting these out. We'll see what happens.
And this is my brand new purple microphone.
Yes, if you're on YouTube.
Gold beryllium.
This is my gold beryllium.
It's actually,
Beryllium. I have no idea what the word is. I say it different every time.
But it's with a B, actually. It's gold.
Beryllium?
Beryllium.
What
you
is
always say beryllium?
I say viridium. That must be from some... All right, all my book talk queens out there. What fantasy novel am I getting viridium from? Or what, if you're a gamer person, hell, it might be from Dragon Age or Skyrim. Viridium. Like a metal.
I just Googled gold beryllium to find out what it is. The first thing that comes up is that some people inhaling low concentrations of beryllium develop chronic beryllium disease. Who knew? Yeah.
Okay, well, that's my husband's fault, so thanks, right?
Okay. Getting into our housekeeping. Well, before I get into housekeeping, how are you guys doing?
Good.
How's life?
Life's good. All of my kids, I say all of them, there are 2.
Are they healthy?
They have had spontaneous pink eye this weekend, and yours truly was rocking the pink eye in my left eye. But the good thing is we already have the eye drops, so we're all using them. And you only have to use them for like 24 hours. So.
And you know what pink eye comes from, right?
Yeah, I know. I'm sure he farted on my pillow or something like that. But
it's so nasty. I'm so sorry. Well, Lauren, what about you?
I'm doing good. Just trucking along. Just putting one foot in front of the other.
No fecal matter in your eyes.
No. None of that, but yeah, just trucking along.
Well, I had a lovely weekend. I was able to go in my pool for the first time this summer, and I thought it was going to rain all weekend, and it didn't. And I got to float around, and I was very happy. And I put on a podcast. I have like a big speaker, and so I had my podcast on. I made myself a little. Oh, I've got a new drink. It's like a little spritzer. So this is not
Shadow Teeny.
A shadow teeny, if you will.
A shadow teeny.
Well, actually, it would be a shadow spritzer.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
If we're being
a spooky spritz.
Real. A spooky,
Spooky
spritz.
spritz.
Ooh, spooky spritz, yes.
Spooky
Ooh,
spritz.
maybe this is what I'm going to make for you guys for rosé and readings when you come by this weekend.
Ooh, I'm
Yeah.
down with that. A little daytime rosé.
Even
I
bring-
ordered some rosé. And it's, you know, I'm a little French bitch, so it's from Provence.
Yes. that is sounds amazing.
Let me do it again. Provence. I listened to a whole podcast, shout out podcasts, on the French R and how to position your tongue in your mouth to make it.
That I spent an entire class, like French class, just learning how to say the word salut.
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 Anyway, so my cocktail, my spritzer, my spooky spritzer. So San Pellegrino makes this new like seltzer called Chow, and it's basically like a LaCroix, but it's a little bit sweeter. I think it has actual like juice in it.
Ciao,
So it's
like the Italian goodbye,
yes,
ciao.
like ciao ciao.
Okay,
Mhm.
not like chow chow the chow chow pup.
No, not like
the coleslaw chow.
Yeah, or chow.
No.
Yeah, C
No.
A.
CIAO. The Italian ciao means hello, goodbye. Yes. So they make a new seltzer called Chow.
Okay.
And it comes in blood orange, peach, and lime. Again, this is not an ad, but you want to sponsor us.
San Pellegrino, come on over.
But you mix that with Prosecco, and it is so refreshing. And that was what I drank by the pool all day on Saturday.
Nice.
So maybe I'll make you guys some of that. But we have to drink rosé, obviously, because it's rosé and readings.
Yes.
Mhm.
And we'll share ahead of rosé and readings. We'll share, what our pick is, and I think we'll also kind of like crowdsource
From Provence.
from Provence.
Provence.
Provence. It's in the back. It's in the back.
Somebody is like screaming at us to stop doing.
It's in the French speak in the back of their palate, whereas we speak in the front.
Mm-hmm.
It's not tip of the teeth. It's tip of the teeth. Tip of the teeth, back of the tongue. I'm so sorry to the French people.
Are we though?
I met some very nice French people.
Yes. What about the people in Montreal? They're great.
Yeah.
Okay. So just a little bit of housekeeping. Moving on. As a reminder, we will be taking a planned hiatus, and it will be the month of June, and we will be back at the beginning of July. But we will still be active on our social media, so please interact with us.
Yes.
Leave us your ghost stories. Don't forget about us. We will be back. We swear.
And the
We're
things
just
you leave
working
us
on some content
will be featured likely in Rosé and readings, or have a chance to be featured on there. So the more you interact with us, the more we interact with you.
Yes, on Rosé and readings, we're going to be reading ghost stories that you guys submit. This first episode, we're thinking it will be our own ghost stories plus a mixture of y'all's ghost stories. I can never say
Ghost.
ghost, like I'm German. Ghost.
Apologies to the German people.
Apologies to the German people, the French people, the Italians. Look, we just offended like 3 different people in one episode.
We're normally behind the camera in our jobs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. So we'll be back at the beginning of July. And yeah. So in the meantime, if you want to, you can leave us a little rate or review. We actually read our first review this week. Admittedly, we did not know how to read our reviews. It took us a little while to figure that out, but we finally did. And we had a lovely review from
Jen Nag.
Jen Nag. Thank you, Jen Nag, for the sweet words. I almost started crying. I
know.
was so touched.
Thank you.
I know. We read it, and I texted the girls, and I was like, "Oh my god, is this one of your friends? Did you ask one of your friends to leave a?
Is this your mom? Is this like a fake account from one of your moms?"
It was so kind. So thank you so much for leaving a review and saying
So
kind
sweet.
words and listening and engaging. So very
Much
appreciate that.
appreciated.
Yes, very, very much appreciated. Please find us on Instagram, TikTok, etc. If If you want to leave us a ghost story, you can. You can DM us. You can email us at paranormalplaybackpod@gmail.com, or you can call us at 404-981-4533. This is Delilah.
Delilah.
Oh, I miss Delilah. Okay, and with that, we're going to dive into this episode. Another interesting one from Zach and the gang. This is Ghost Adventures, Season 29, Episode 5, The Rispin Mansion in Capitola, California. So, what did you guys think of this episode?
I had a lot of questions that you obviously can't ask a TV screen, so I did a lot of Googling.
Yeah, I figured you would have the answers because I did have questions too.
Yeah, I looked up a lot.
Questions.
Like the deaths they didn't get into.
Okay, I'm excited to do this old haunt because I had a lot of questions and I had to resist like looking up the history.
Exactly.
Because I wanted to hear it from
Well,
Mel.
I've got your answers, maybe. There was some stuff they brought up where I was like, where the fuck did you get that?
Okay, good, because that's what I thought.
I'm like,
There was like
Well, I think this old haunt is where a lot of the questions that I have will be answered as well.
Okay, so within the first 15 seconds of this episode, Zach already uses the term unprecedented access, which he has said several times in other episodes this season. So this is lazy writing, or they specifically chose locations that were all like locked down or shut down or something this season. So he's excited that they all have unprecedented access, I guess. He says that the mayor granted them unprecedented access, not because of the stories he heard, but because of the things he saw. The Rispin Mansion is giving to me Lily Taylor vibes. And if you don't know who Lily Taylor is, you can Google her. But she is the woman who was in The Haunting, which is about like old, spooky, creepy mansion. She was also in Mystic Pizza, which is one of my favorite movies.
This is Rose Red, right? The Haunting?
Yes.
It's one of my favorite scary movies of all time. And it has Owen Wilson in it.
Yeah. It's like the vibe of this mansion was very like The Haunting, Haunting of Hill House, House on Haunted Hill. They all have very similar titles.
If you live on a hill, it's probably haunted.
It's a mansion up on a hill that is spooky, creepy, abandoned. So think old abandoned mansion with a gate around it is basically what this was. Zach explains to us that the Rispin Mansion is a place that with a lot of lore surrounding it. People who live in the area were scared of it and avoided the place. Now, was that primarily because it was closed and just looked creepy? Maybe. But of course, the Ghost Adventures crew wants us to think it's haunted. And that's what we're here to try to determine. Is it really a haunting or a hoax? Zach also tells us that people have died here using some fun recreations of people who look like they were dressed in costumes from Spirit Halloween. So it's like a man in a top hat, a nun, a like Victorian lady.
The beginning of the episode, like reenactments they do are always like quick flashes, and I'm like, what?
So my mom actually watched this with me too, and she was like, "Oh, okay." Like when they like they had this like just this like part of this guy's beard, like the flashing of like his. It was so funny.
Imagine when we work in advertising, it's different with shows, but they spend part of their production budget on these like quick little 2-second here or there moments and
to like set the scene and make it extra creepy.
Yeah, but it's kind of
but it's comical
bullshit a little bit. Like it's reenactments in some cases, and then in some cases it's just made up spooky shit.
Creative license is what it is.
Creative license.
Yeah. So now it's time to learn what actually happened here before we get into the Ghost Adventures version of history. So Mel, can you hit us with this old haunt?
Can I? All right. You guys ready? Buckle up. On today's episode of This Old Haunt, it's beachfront property with a side of bad luck. We're talking broken dreams, barefoot nuns, and one of the creepiest fixer-uppers in all of California. The Rispin Mansion was meant to be the crown jewel of Capitola. Instead, it became a cautionary tale in stucco. Let's unpack the decades of mystery, misfortune, and maybe, just maybe, a lady in black that they never talk about in the show. But she wants you to get the hell out. Okay, so Rispin Mansion, there's a lot here. Not like, I mean, there's just a lot to unpack in this episode in different moments. But Rispin Mansion is located at 2200 Wharf Road in Capitola, California. It was constructed in 1921 by Henry Allen Rispin, who is a Canadian-born entrepreneur who envisioned transforming this seaside town into a luxurious resort destination. So here's the deal with Henry Allen Rispin. He had big dreams, an even bigger ego, and in the 1920s, he kind of rolls into Capitola like some sort of coastal Gatsby and decides he's going to turn this seaside town into the next Mediterranean hotspot. And how does he kick it off? By building himself a giant Spanish-style mansion / real estate brochure. Subtle. But shocker, things don't go as planned. The economy crashes. Cue the Great Depression. The buyers don't bite, and Rispin ends up losing it all in a foreclosure. He disappears from the picture, leaving behind this beautiful, crumbling metaphor for unchecked ambition. And now the only thing buying into that mansion is the ghosts of bad investments. So getting into...
So sad.
I know, it's sad. But I mean, I think a lot of...
It's also, he bit off more than he could chew.
He did. And I think, you know, the way I always do these history segments is I do the research before watching the show, which maybe I should mix it up sometime. I don't know. But I go into it knowing the facts around the location and the timelines generally. So that is something I'm thinking of. And when you buy a huge property and try to make a huge town in the early 1920s during, you know, the Roaring 20s, what came after the Roaring 20s, the Great Depression, and then shortly after World War II. So there are things that are spooky and then things that are just kind of
the time.
Of the time. So with that, that's a good segue. A segue as...
What was actually there though when he went there? Was it just? I
think it was just land.
It was land, and it was... People thought he was kind of crazy for buying it because it was marshy land, and difficult to build on, and everybody was like, "I wouldn't build there," kind of, and he was like, "No, I'm gonna make this whole fucking
I have
thing.
A vision. I've got a dream."
So, in 1929, the Great Depression devastated his finances, leading to the foreclosure of the mansion. And it was subsequently acquired by a man named Robert Hayes Smith, who never ever resided there. And then he...
This is what I had a lot of questions about. I feel like they didn't really do a great job explaining what happened after he left. Like, they allude to it at a handful of spots, but they never really like explain it. So,
well, I think the ironic thing about this whole episode is what happened to what the fuck is his name? Henry Allen Rispin. Thank you. What happened to Henry Allen is so tied to the Great Depression. And I don't think they said the Great Depression this entire fucking episode.
No, they never referenced it. They just made it seem like, oh, well, you know, he bit off more than he could chew. And so, well.
And they were like, it should have worked. This idea should have worked. Sure. Had the Great Depression not happened, you know, it's a cute little town. You see them in the town. But he basically lost everything and was penniless. And shortly after he became penniless, his wife died. And then he moved.
His son, right?
I think his son died too. Yeah. So his family died. He's depressed in the Great Depression, and he dies penniless in an unmarked grave in 1933, shortly before World War II. So it's not that far-fetched to me that that's what happened to him, because it was the Great Depression. Not many came out in the Great Depression, especially somebody who put everything into this major investment.
Right.
So back to the timeline a little. 1940 to 1957, the property was sold to the Oblates of St. Joseph, which was a Catholic order that used it as a convent for the Poor Clares, which is a cloister group of nuns known for their vow of poverty and barefoot lifestyle. So this is where I thought the episode would have gone. I'm just going to hold on the Poor Clare. I'm going to get through the main stuff and we can come back to the Poor
can
Clares.
you use, what was it called again?
Basically it was like
Clare?
the Poor Clares. So it was they say monastery, which I thought monasteries were only for monks and cloisters were for nuns, but maybe that's a European thing because they do call it a monastery. But it was sold to the Oblates of St. Joseph, a Catholic order that used it as a convent.
They had said the words Poor Clare, and the subtitles did not catch it, and I kept trying to figure out what the heck they were talking about. So I'm glad that you referenced.
They really, it's really interesting when I go into detail on it a little further, and I just really think that's where all of the stuff should have been, but they really focused on Henry Allen, and I just don't think anything really. He didn't die there. Anywho,
yeah.
After that, in the 1957 to 1985, the nuns vacated the mansion and it remained abandoned and it suffered from vandalism, neglect. It was used sporadically as a practice site for a local police SWAT team, and they trained canine, like police dogs there. And yeah, basically it sat for like 60 plus years, just not being maintained.
So I have a question, because the way that they set it up was he started building it.
Lauren, hold on. You're far away from your mic. Can you move a little closer?
There you go.
So the way that they set it up was he started building it, but then he wasn't able to actually finish it properly, was the way that it made it sound like what happened.
He finished, my understanding is he finished his home, because there are photos of it like beautiful in the early
so it actually got finished.
So it got finished, but he had plans almost, if you think of how Walt Disney wanted, I don't know if many people know this. Well, I was a cast member at Disney in college for a short period of time. So I have a weird knowledge.
I know a bunch of people who have done that. I had no idea you were one of them.
Yeah, I was in the Disney college program and was a deep water lifeguard at Typhoon Lagoon. So I was the second highest paid college program person besides face characters. Yes, there was a disparity among face and fur. I digress. Anywho, the original, it was kind of like a Walt Disney thing where Epcot was originally supposed to be emerging prototype of tomorrow is what Epcot, emerging prototype community of tomorrow.
Like people were supposed to be able to live there, right?
Yeah, it was supposed to be a whole town, but to Disney employees, it just means every paycheck comes on Thursday, which is true. But instead of it being this futuristic town, that's why Kissimmee and Celebration is all technically owned by Disney, because he planned to make it this, not a theme park, but a way of life focused around technology. That was kind of Henry Allen's, well, less Disney, but like a snippet of that. He had wanted to make the whole town
like a gated community before a gated community existed, type of like where there's a country club and everything is like housed within.
But there was also a hotel on the seaside, so that little seaside town they go to. He influenced that being built, so he was trying to blow up that area like almost like a boardwalk style thing.
It looked, when they were there, that looked very European to me.
Yes, so I think that, Lauren, is what was not finished.
Gotcha.
But the house was. So
because the structure on the inside looked like it wasn't finished.
Yes,
when they were inside.
And I have some information on that. So 1985. So keep in mind, no one's lived in it since 1957, and now we're at 1985, and the city purchased the property with intentions to develop it. Various plans. They were like, it's going to be a hotel, a community center. Oh, it's going to be a park. And it was just environmental concerns. Anywho, still sitting abandoned, owned by the state. 2009, it catches fire. There's a mysterious fire that gutted 75% of the mansion's interior, which halted renovation plans. People still don't know why it caught fire. And then in 2011, they renovated it, but the city entombed the structure by reconstructing the roof and then sealing all openings to prevent further decay and unauthorized entry because it was like hella vandalized. And then 2024 to 2025, actually, this past year, construction began to transform it into a surrounding 5.7 acre grounds, or the grounds around the house, into a public park named the Park at Rispin Manor. So that's kind of happening, but the house is still closed off. So there are people who like bike there, and there are pathways, and there's supposed to be an amphitheater, but the mansion itself is like closed to the public. So the fire is why it looks so
like as if it weren't finished, because they have to tear stuff out.
Yeah. So in terms of paranormal claims and legends, and then I can kind of get into the Poor Clares, it's had a lot of local folklore and ghost stories, mostly being a lady in black, which is believed to be a former nun from the Poor Clares. So this apparition is reportedly seen on the top story window, or rocking on the back porch, sometimes urging visitors to get out. So it is 4 stories. I actually found, and we'll put it.
Why didn't they bring any?
I have
of that
no clue. I have no clue. And I actually found the floor plans of the house that we'll put on our website and in the like episode recap, that show all the different levels and stuff. It's really interesting. And then additionally, some disembodied sounds. Witnesses have reported hearing unexplained footsteps, voices, dogs barking and whining, possibly linked to the mansion's time as a
dogs barking
police dog training. It was a police training facility, and they trained canine dogs there. But yeah, also it could have been just fucking dogs barking. There was
never have I ever thought a dog barking was a ghost dog barking.
Well, now you will. So there was a tragic accident in the 1980s where a man allegedly fell through the floorboards into the basement and died after days without rescue. And some claim to hear his cries for help echoing at night. So I think this is also one of the reasons they closed off all the entry, because it was...
people were getting hurt. Just wandering around this place.
Yeah. And I'm sure there were like people, doing drugs and stuff.
That's what I figured.
Yeah. And then general hauntings. Visitors have described kind of cold spots, moving objects, and sighting of a man with glasses holding a drink by the fireplace. Very specific. I did look up. Henry Allen did not have glasses. And I don't know if he smoked a pipe. But, oh wait, it's not a pipe. He was holding a drink. My bad. Maybe he drank. I don't know. It was Prohibition. So, probably. So... on to the Poor Clares, if you guys are interested. Yes. It's not too long. Who are the Poor Clares? Funny you asked. The Poor Clares are a cloistered order of nuns founded in the 13th century by Saint Clare of Assisi? Assisi. A close follower of Saint Francis. And their lives are rooted in poverty, silence, and isolation. So they practice perpetual enclosure, meaning they do not leave their convents. Their vow of poverty is so extreme that they often forego shoes, worldly possessions, and even meat. And at Rispin Mansion, they were known to go barefoot, sleep on straw mats, and spend hours in contemplative silence and prayer, adding sort of this surreal energy to the house. And one of the main reasons they ended up leaving is because people kept looking in on them, which makes sense if you think about it. There's like a curiosity to those that take like a vow of silence, and this place is so grandiose, and there's like kind of a park around it. It made them very uncomfortable. So that's the reason they ended up vacating. But this kind of adds to the haunt factor, because the idea, of that group of barefoot women moving silently through dark halls, praying at all hours, otherworldly creepy stillness, and apparently
it's just so strange to me though, because that is supposed to be like a symbol of peace and like they're in contemplative prayer to God, and like you'd think that would cause a lot of positivity and not negativity. So it's just interesting how like sometimes we attribute the Catholicism with the evil.
Yeah.
You know?
And I looked up, apparently a lot of paranormal investigators associate cloistered nuns and monks with really intense spiritual energy that can often imprint on a space, especially in places of solitude or suffering. And the most often ghost sighting at this location is the lady in black that people attribute to being a nun, which is probably one of the Poor Clares. So I was just so shocked that they did use a nun in a reenactment.
Yeah, they did have a nun. They also do catch, and we'll get into it later, but they do catch a woman's voice, and you would think, but I guess if the nuns took a vow of silence, maybe they wouldn't come through. But I don't know. I don't know.
So in closing, what do you get when you mix coastal ambition, cloistered silence, and just enough bad luck to burn the whole dream down? A mansion too haunted to flip and too stubborn to fall. The Rispin Mansion may be sealed up tight, but the stories still slip through the cracks. And if you ever stroll past that boarded facade and feel a chill, don't worry. It's probably just the lady in black, making sure you don't overstay your welcome. So that's it for today's episode of This Old Haunt, where the walls may be crumbling, but the spirits, they're still under contract. See you next time in the rubble. I closed it out this time, guys. I remembered.
Great job.
So they said that there was 2 people that died inside. Do we know that what the 2 deaths were?
My guess is another accident, or maybe, I mean, no one died in the fire to my knowledge. I tried really hard to look up all the things they brought up. I could not find a little girl missing.
That was what I was just about to ask. So you couldn't find any reference of this missing little girl?
No.
Interesting. Why? That's so weird. Like, why bring up things that we can't even find a reference of? Like, then you're not bringing up other things. That
it's so weird that you bring up deaths that can't be.
I'm not saying, I mean, maybe there was another. The only death I found was the man that fell through. And then I even found the Santa Cruz investigators blog where they talked about their experience. Because, you know, he's like, a woman was violently pushed down the stairs.
Oh, yeah. And the mayor had to shut it down. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also he was like, the mayor approved this investigation. Like, obviously the mayor had to approve it. He owns the house. Like, the city had to approve you going there. But I like put a quote in here from their investigation, the Santa Cruz investigators. They said the most disturbing part was when we tried to continue with communication. The medium told us the female entity she was seeing said we would all be safe if we remained on the top floor. However, as it approached towards the witching hour, 3 a.m., one of our new investigators who had been taunting the negative spirit that was believed to be down below on the bottom floor had asked to speak with me privately. As she and I walked down the stairs, forgetting of the earlier warning, I turned and witnessed the investigator falling on the staircase with such force as if someone had pushed her. She tried to catch herself on the railing, was able to do so. However, she immediately asked, "Who pushed me?" and was disoriented and shaken afterwards, as if she was spiritually attacked. As the clock began approaching 3, we thought it best not to tempt fate and aggravate the energies any further and began to pack up and leave the mansion. As we prepared to leave, the lights inside the mansion kept going on and off sporadically, which was odd. Although they were set as motion detectors, they kept flickering without motion very quickly. I prefer to think that maybe a breaker needed to be reset, but can't say for sure. I only say that it had not happened all night until after the investigator had been pushed down the stairs. And as we prepared to leave, when we departed, another team member noticed the back of the pants of the investigator who had fallen, and you could see a distinct boot print on the bottom of her pant leg, as if someone had kicked her. So that was the quote. So yes, that's still like, oh, someone pushed us down the stairs, but it wasn't as traumatized as him.
I'm just laughing because I'm like, what if she just like tripped and was so embarrassed that she was like, oh, somebody kicked me.
Right?
I don't think that's what happened, just because she did have a boot print on her. But I was thinking, I would make that up.
And the boot print was on her leg. Not that makes a whole lot of sense, but
you know how like you can kick somebody's knee, like Maybe it was like that.
Oh, yeah, like the back of their, like you used to do in middle school.
Yeah, like you used to do when you were in high school. Yeah.
So I do want to go back to, you were saying that who does own the property, though? I am curious.
The city.
The city?
Yeah.
And so what are they doing? You said what's the development? What's going on with the development of the property?
So the grounds are pretty massive, but there's like a huge fountain and gardens and all this stuff. And they're turning it into like a public park for the area, like a bike path. There's like a drawing for an amphitheater, but the house is just remaining sealed for now. So it's becoming a nice park. And in the 90s, they cleaned it up, the house exterior. So the grounds are actually pretty nice. Well, I guess the 90s is not that long ago, or is a long time ago.
Quite a long time.
Yeah. I thought you literally said the mayor owned it. I was like,
well,
he owns it because he,
just like he's got the keys to the city.
Yeah.
The city owns it. The state.
Theoretical.
Yeah.
All right. So now it's time for Zach's version of history, which is not the same as the actual history from this old haunt. So Zach tells us that Henry Rispin was a Canadian entrepreneur. He built the mansion in 1923 in hopes that it could become a world-class resort. Zach says his neglect of essential responsibilities birthed its downfall. Basically, we come to find out that it was financial irresponsibility. The way that the historians and Zach explain it, Henry Rispin bit off more than he could chew with the mansion. Unfortunately, it was auctioned off after 6 years. Shortly thereafter, Rispin's wife died and then his son, and then he himself died a year later, broke and buried in an unmarked grave in San Francisco. So I don't know if it was like in a potter's field, but that's what I'm guessing. It was something like that.
Yeah. And for clarity, the home was built in 21 or 22.
Yes.
And he died in 33.
Yeah, they made it sound like they died immediately after leaving the house.
So they like had the home for almost a decade, right?
Yeah. Weird. So without much explanation of who owned it or what was going on at this place, Zach alludes to more darkness here, multiple fires, vandalism, and a string of mysterious deaths have led to the townspeople believing in a Rispin curse. It sounds to me like this place was left open to the public and was abandoned, and people used it for nefarious activities, which, according to Mel, sounds pretty accurate, except Mel did help us understand a little bit better of what happened between the time of Rispin leaving and the time of the nefarious activity. Zach is standing in front of the dark chain link fence surrounding the property with Aaron, Jay, and Billy. He tells them that he's been trying to investigate this place for years, and he was always denied because back in 2012, the mayor approved a paranormal investigation to try to get answers. During this investigation, they all witnessed a lady being violently kicked down the stairs, and after that happened, the mayor shut down the investigation. Zach claims that
was the mayor at the investigation? That's what I was confused about.
I was trying to understand that too.
They said that, but I didn't see that from their blog. I mean, I believe it, but it sounded like it was just the lady got pushed, and then the woman who we meet in the show, who was with her. It seemed like two people saw what happened.
Yeah. Oh, the FBI guy that we meet also was there. So I don't know if the mayor was actually there. I don't understand how the mayor shut down the investigation unless he was actually there, which maybe he was. Maybe he was curious. I don't know. Maybe they did it as like a publicity type of thing. Zach claims he and the crew are there to help the city unravel this curse. The guys unlock the chain link fence and head down a dark dirt path towards the mansion. Zach says, "Opening that fence is a sign that this curse is upon us now, whether we like it or not." They explain that the mansion is sitting on the edge of a cliff next to the banks of the Soquel Creek, named after the Native Americans who were forced to leave their sacred land. I have an issue with this. I feel like this is the, third, fourth time we're hearing this season that part of the reason that a place is haunted is because of Native Americans. And I'm like, Zach, like, it's starting to get a little weird.
Yeah. And I wrote like basically the same thing down. It's like, I feel like he finds some way to tie everything to being on Native American lands, which is in our entire country. All of it is
but also
stolen.
he doesn't really dig into it at all.
Well, if you listen, because I listened really carefully, knowing, the history when I was watching it, and he says, like, this was all whatever land, and this river that it's on is a very important river. It was like the vein. Of course it was an important river. It's where they got their fucking water. Like, think about how important water is to civilizations. But he's like, it's the same river. That's like saying, what if there was a spooky house way up on the Mississippi River, which goes across multiple states? Like, who knows how long this river is? And you're saying just because it's on the river, it's on, like, it could be haunted because of that. It just felt like you should just cut it out.
Yeah, there was no reason to bring up the Native Americans in this episode. And so I was like, why are we doing this? Like, you claim that you think it's a curse, but almost every the Poltergeist house, Whiskey Pete's, not the Glen Tavern Inn, but definitely Poltergeist house and Whiskey Pete's definitely brought in a Native American element, which, yes, they're a very spiritual people, but not all Native American tribes are the same. And you're just kind of collectively saying that they all
cursed
evil
us, everyone. Yeah. Not that we don't fucking deserve it,
Exactly. It just doesn't feel very respectful. I don't know. If you're a Native American, let us know how you feel.
Also, when we go into the investigation, he's not trying to talk to anybody who's Native American.
No, there was no point in bringing this up. He goes on about how the Spanish...
You get a Native American curse. You get a Native American curse. You get a Native American curse.
Literally, though. He's like, everywhere they go, he Googles it. He's like, was there anybody, or his producers do it. They Google, like, was there any Native American tribes on this land? Yeah. Yes, there's a curse.
Yeah, and they're all curses, Yeah.
It
seems like he got one curse, because if you remember in Poltergeist, he was like, our first curse. And now he's like, everything's a curse.
Yeah. Everything's a curse.
Yeah.
So Zach goes on about how the Spanish moved into the land in 1791 and started the Santa Cruz mission system. And they had basically forced the natives into the mission and forced them to accept their religion. It was either that or possibly be forced to leave or be killed.
Which is awful.
So, yeah, which is absolutely terrible, but that's exactly what happened. Zach says that the Soquel Creek is literally the vein that runs right beside the mansion. Zach dramatically shows us how every window and opening in this building has been sealed shut with stucco, and he starts banging on it to show us.
If there's anything we've learned, it's that Zach loves slapping a rock.
He loves to slap a rock,
He loves to slap a rock or a wall or a tunnel.
Exactly.
Slapping the base.
Mm-hmm. Slapping the base.
He says, whatever evil is inside, they have literally sealed it shut. Zach says there's no doubt in his mind that it has been waiting on its opportunity to explode. So he's basically trying to say that all this evil energy is like pent up inside the house, like a gun that's about to go off if they open the door. And as far as I understand it, like, it's not the first time they're opening the doors. They just keep it shut generally. It's not like a time capsule where they were like, we shut the doors 40 years ago and we haven't opened them since.
Yeah, and he really makes it seem like they sealed it shut because of this curse that this curse that he's doing a hard push on, when the reality is they're trying to preserve the renovations that they did, which are only on the exterior for the most part. We saw what the inside looked like. And to prevent...
And for safety.
Yeah, safety and vandal. Yeah. Like, people died there. They're like, okay, well, they got through the boards. Let's try cement. But no, it's the What's the box? It's like Pandora's box.
Yeah. We now move on to our interviews. The first person that Zach introduces is Tim. Our first interview is with former federal law enforcement officer Tim. I don't think he had a last name either.
Just Tim.
Just Tim. Tim had joined the investigation that happened back in 2012. He was there when the woman got kicked down the stairs. Zach asks why the place is sealed up. Tim says it's because of the illicit activity that was going on there. And he mentions cult stuff, which I'm like, did Zach tell him to say that?
Any abandoned building, cult stuff. Like, let's just think for a second. You're in a cult. Okay. Let's say you worship Satan, as all cults apparently do. And you're like, we really need a place to do some stuff.
I mean, technically, if it's a cult, it would be more like we worship this like blue stone right here.
Yeah. I just logically, would you all meet up in an abandoned building that you might have to like kick some unhoused people out of or buy a bunch of lighting for because it's spooky and you could get trespassing charges? Or are you gonna go to the cult leader's house? Or I mean whatever, they're saying like sacrifices and shit, but who really does that really happen?
But this is always the thing when a place is abandoned, you just assume they're doing satanic rituals there. And I think people do it because they've heard that or seen it in movies. So Zach asks him to elaborate on this cult stuff. Tim says, if you know anything about Santa Cruz, there's been a lot of murderers, a lot of serial killers from this area. I mean, we were told we were the murder capital of the world there for a while.
Did the Golden State Killer ever go to Santa Cruz?
I don't know.
See his name.
They didn't list him.
Yeah.
He listed... Wait, did he? Yes, they showed a picture. They didn't list it out, but they showed a picture of the 4 serial killers that are known to be from this area. So it's Ed Kemper, David Carpenter, Herbert Mullen, and Billy Mansfield. And this just made me laugh because Zach was asking about the cult stuff.
Yeah.
Hello, Tatum. Zach's asking about the cult stuff, and he's like, his response is that there's been a lot of murderers, like that. So are you alluding to the fact that there's culty activity because they're known as the murder capital of the world because there's 4 serial killers there? It's just such a strange...
Well, serial killers are always cult leaders.
I was like, that's not... Those two things are not necessarily connected, but okay. So then he explains that Rispin Mansion was used for devil worshipping, dark stuff. Zach asks if he thinks people have been sacrificed inside the building, and Tim says, yeah.
I love how he just glazed over that.
Yeah, no further information.
Like that's all he needed from that guy.
No information needed.
And then he dismissed him. That was it.
Yeah. And I don't know if I even believe that editing, I'm like, did he say yeah to you asking that? Or did he say yeah to something
or did he say yeah to something else?
Because he was pulling that out of him.
And just like when I'm editing this podcast. If you only knew the things I cut out. Okay. So the next person he interviews is Aubrey Graves. That is a tongue twister of a name, by the way. Aubrey Graves.
It's a cool name. That's like a...
I did like that her last name was Graves.
Book character name.
Yeah. We are introduced to her walking down a long, dark pathway next to the mansion with a spotlight aimed at her. Aubrey is a year-round Halloween kind of girl. She has on a spiderweb embroidered cardigan, some Wednesday Addams braids, and a large bat necklace. Like she came ready for this investigation.
We need to put a screenshot of her entry because it was really weird. I didn't even think of it as a spotlight, but obviously it was a spotlight. It almost looked composited in. Like she was walking on like a magic carpet speed walk thing. And she's the only one lit in the frame, and the rest of the view is like spooky and dark.
What I love is that they take these social, like a lot of the people that they interview are like a bit socially awkward or like don't seem like they're super comfortable in front of the camera. And then they make them do things like walk down this really long walkway. And you can tell that they look like, I don't know what to do with my hands right now. Like I'm trying to be cool for the camera, but this is so uncomfortable.
Yeah. I mean, I love that they all get their own moment. I was just... the lighting was an interesting choice.
Definitely. So, lovely Aubrey. She is a paranormal author from Capitola, California, and they do an interview with her inside the mansion in this weird spot that's like surrounded by graffiti. But I kind of liked it. I was like, okay, out of a lot of their situations and setups, I don't mind the graffiti setup.
I did too. I actually noticed the way that they set her up.
It looked nice. So Aubrey finishes her walk by walking straight up to the guys, like face to face. It almost looks like a standoff. That was the other thing that was so awkward. Like she literally had to like walk all the way up to them. Zach explains that they have not yet entered the building because he wanted to wait until the sun went down.
This bothered me. For two reasons.
Continuity?
Like
they showed her inside the building, but then they snapped back to her not being inside the building yet.
No, normally I'm like the continuity police, but no, it bothered me because his comment of we wanted to wait for the sun to disappear before going in. And I'm like, okay, I get that, but also there's literally no light in this building because it's cement. All the windows are cemented. So it's dark.
Right. Why does it matter?
At all times. And then later on, I was bothered by the fact that we didn't have any sort of daylight references of inside. Because it's very clear that there's like beams and structural, like it's not drywall. It's literally the structural beams. And then there's like metal and it's unclear what you're looking at. And I would have liked to have seen it in light. I guess they would have had to light it.
Yeah, I'm not sure how they would do that for you, but
I mean, with lights, they could just bring in a bunch of fucking lights.
I guess. Show. Well, and it also sounds like what in 2012 there was electric in the building. That was, So they could have turned some lights,
or they could have just like shown photos of the interior so you could see like it's been burned down to the beams. I felt very disoriented in there, which maybe is the point, but
yeah. I had a hard time understanding where they were going and where they were at any given moment.
I'm like, this is like a 4-level thing, and I feel like we went to 2 rooms.
Yes. Oh, exactly. Totally agree with that.
Yeah.
So he says, you're a local, and asks if she'd ever been inside. She says she'd been going there since she was 13, but she'd always stay outside. And she explains that it made her uncomfortable, and she could always sense that there were bad energies there. Then he asks her about the lore. Aubrey says after it was a monastery, people would say they saw ghosts of nuns. Oh, at that moment, I noticed Zach is wearing a velvet or velour black baseball hat. Sorry, I had to do a wardrobe check. But yes, so people said that they saw the ghosts of nuns. Which okay, but
that was the moment. That was your launching off point. You didn't take.
He could have ran with it, but he didn't. We hope you guys have enjoyed this first half of Ghost Adventures Season 29, Episode 5, The Rispin Mansion. We hope you return for Part 2 and let us know what you think about it. We will be returning with the investigation and even more of Zach and the gang's antics. So we'll see you in a few days.